Now we're going to go to Mr. Cloud. Before we begin the meeting, the open and adjourn or open the next meeting, we'll have Mr. Cloud swearing in ceremony. So Mr. Cloud and Your Honor, you come up. Down there now? Yep. All right. All right, we're live. Good morning, Jay. Hey, good morning. Good to see you. All right, so get you over here is fine. Get you on the microphone. Okay. Hands will be full, and his right hand will be full. I got you. Oh, wait, let me get on this side. Where's the camera at? Oh, right there, right there. Let me get back on this. Just want to make sure we don't ruin this. Ready? Yes.
Read after me. I, Billy Cloud,
I, Billy Cloud,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies,
and defend them against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
of County Recorder
County Recorder
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Sure.
All right. Congratulations, Mr. Cloud. Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate it. Hey, don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. Go ahead. So, first of all, congratulations and welcome to the Cochise County government. We would like to offer you this time to address your people.
Okay. Thank you. First, I want to thank God for this opportunity, and thanks for my wife, Deb, and our son, Adam, for showing up and watching this event. And then my staff, thank you for staying and teaching me every day. They teach me new stuff, and I'm going to lean on you forever. And again, thanks to the board for entrusting me with this very awesome responsibility. So I think that's all I have.
Sweet. Thank you, sir. Are we going to do that after the board meeting or before the board meeting? After board meeting. Okay. So sure. It's food.
Oh, it's food.
Yeah.
You've been eating food already.
All right. Oh, yeah. Immediately upon conclusion of the board meeting, there'll be refreshments out in the lobby for everybody to meet Mr. Cloud. And of course, if any of his wonderful staff plans to stay, they'll be out there as well. But now we are going to get into the regular meeting. All right. So are we ready for that, Laura? Yep. All right. So we're going to call to order the regular board meeting for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors. Today is Tuesday, March 11th. We are meeting in the Board of Supervisors hearing room in Bisbee, Arizona. Pursuant to ARS 38431.02H, the public will have physical access to the meeting room 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. We will begin with an invocation.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Praise waiteth for thee, O God, and unto thee shall the vow be performed. O thou that hearest prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come. Blessed is the man whom thou choosest and causest to approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thy house, even of thy holy temple. In righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are afar off upon the sea, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, being girded with power, which stilleth the noise of the seas, and noise their waves, and the tumult of the people. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice. Thou visitest the earth and waterest it. Thou greatly enrichest it with the river of God, which is full of water. Thou preparest them corn when thou hast so provided for us. Thou waterest the ridges thereof abundantly. Thou settlest the furrows thereof. Thou makest it soft with showers. Thou blessest the springing thereof. Thou crownest the year with thy goodness, and upon all the pastures of the wilderness. Amen.
Amen. All right. After the God part is now the country part. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. All right, next, the order and the deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at any time during the meeting. The board may vote to recess to enter executive session for the purposes of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38431.03. Members of the Board of Supervisors may attend in person or via Microsoft Teams, as well as the public. The board may permit public comment during the discussion on any item on this agenda. To speak, please submit the request to speak to the speaker or to the clerk of the board by 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published. Please refer to the online site if you would like to get the most up-to-date presentation materials. They will also be displayed at the board meeting, and they may differ slightly from the attached version. All right, we will begin with a call to the public. All right, first person up is Mr. Henry Copeland. Is Mr. Copeland present? There he is, sir. Sir, please come up to the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
I have, starting last October, I've had about 4 letters complaining about my property in Miracle Valley. And they complained about trash and wanted to get titles to my vehicles. There was 9. And they have operated in a manner of bad behavior, bullying. One letter I got said that up till February 11th, from late December, that I wasn't in compliance. I got the letter 6 days before the 11th, so they lied to me about that. I've had to deal with them in 6 years ago in 2010, where I provided all the titles to my vehicles. And I, this time I provided registrations for 4 of them. One of them was new. And I shouldn't have to be doing their job because I already provided them years ago. They should keep records, you know, because I feel they need to pay me if they want me to do their job. They were complaining about travel trailer, and I talked to several neighbors, including Jesus and Cindy, who live at McLean and Guidance. They also got complaints, according to the officer, Chris Steeler. He said there were 33 complaints. I said, who complained? Well, he said, well, we can't say. It's anonymous. Well, the county was doing this and complaining about everything. They talked to my neighbor. It's just a lot of things that they should not be complaining about. They're mistaking wooden boards in front of my tires that function as a sun shield, as trash, I believe. They are apparently anti-car, anti-taxpayer, anti-business, and anti-consumer. I believe some of these county codes may be unconstitutional. They shouldn't be wasting county money for vehicles to drive around. They should be.
All right, thank you, sir. Your 3 minutes are up. If I could just ask you one question real quick.
I'm a little hard of hearing. Could you speak up?
Sure. Where do you live again?
Miracle Valley.
Is that you?
Yeah.
That's sounds like a code enforcement.
I know I've heard from Mr. Copeland, and
Oh, okay.
I was just searching for your email, but I was unable to find it because I got a new computer. But I will get with development and see what they have to say.
I didn't
Thank,
believe I sent an email. I may have sent you an email about something else in the past. I think it was about, I wanted you to pass law having diesel trucks
Right.
being emissions inspected,
Right.
emissions
all right, sir. Well,
inspection.
we'll have someone get back and see if we can help you with your issue. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. All right. Next up, Mr. Hyde again, Mr. Radford Hyde. Is he online? No. All right. Well, I guess we'll skip over Mr. Hyde. All right. Next again, Ms. Tamara Birch. Ms. Birch, are you online? Is she on there?
Ms. Birch is on there. She just needs to unmute herself.
Okay. Talking about voting concerns.
Yeah, I've brought this up before, and I know it's on the legislative bills up in the Capitol. So I'm just concerned, and of course, I want voting to be accessible and available as much as possible. The whole idea of going back to 55 precincts is ridiculous because we don't even have enough for our vote centers, our 18 vote centers, to have staff and volunteers working there and trained people, and the 100% hand count is even more ridiculous. That would be too time consuming. I believe we need to stick with what's working, and I hope that our elections people and our new recorder will be fully trained and ready to go. And I think voting, 80% of the people that vote with early ballots. That should continue. We should have more accessibility prior to the election to vote in person and on the weekends for working people. So I just very dearly appreciate my right to vote, and I wish every person in the county and in the state and in the nation actually would exercise that vote. Thank you so much. Tamara
Thank you, Ms.
Birch.
Birch. Appreciate it. All right. There are no additional requests to speak. So first, we will go to the consent agenda, items number 1 through 4. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Nope. All right. So the motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 4. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next, we will go to the public hearing section. And first of all, let me open we are now in the public hearing section. The hearing is open. We will now hear first from Mr. Correa, the Chief Civil Deputy, who will brief us on Resolution 2503.
Yeah, this is a water franchise. So this is required under state law that a franchise is approved by the Board of Supervisors in any county so people can lay pipes or whatever they got to do to deliver water. It's the same contract that we use for everybody else, same process, and the attachment that shows where it's located is in your material.
All right. Is there any discussion or any questions for Mr. Correa?
Mr. Correa, I haven't looked at the, I have material that have the language of the franchise agreement there. And does this have the language approving future franchise fees if such fees are approved by the legislature and the governor?
I want to explain that.
Sure.
We've talked about this a couple times, Tom. So this is done. This is Rummy's quadrant. You know, he was sort of laughed at for talking about unknown unknowns back in the 90s. So can we page that down so we can see the whole quadrant? So we have 25-year agreements for these franchises, and that's a long time out in the future. And, technology and everything is changing faster than ever. So what we do is reserve the right to, charge a fee or a fine or whatever that may be enacted by a future state legislature, if that, happens in the future. I don't know if we'll even be around, but the one thing we do know is that we don't know everything, right? And was kind of Remy's point. And that's the unknowns that we are protecting the county against by using that language. Does that make it a little clearer?
I think I'm familiar with the issue. Thank you. Yeah, in my opinion, what we're doing is going halfway towards implementing a tax on something that the future board will only have to go back to look. The 2025 board approved it halfway, so all we have to do is approve it halfway too, and lo and behold, we got a tax. So I would say it's an ex post facto law, but it's something like that. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't want to do it.
Gomez, any comments or questions?
So I'm a little bit, can you clarify for me then that what we're doing, this was awarded for the how many years so far?
This is a 25-year term.
And we're starting the 25-year term now?
That's correct. Holiday Water was purchased by Cactus State Utility Operating Company. They operate in unincorporated Tombstone.
Tombstone. And so what your comment is, Mr. Crosby, Supervisor Crosby, is that are we actually saying we want it for 25 years, or we're just saying we're doing it for half the time?
No, a franchise does not include a franchise fee at this time.
And why don't they do that?
Because the legislature has not approved franchise fees for counties. They have approved.
Down the road.
Right.
It could be
They
better.
have, there is, for instance, if somebody lives in Sierra Vista, they have a 4% tax on their electricity. And fortunately, the electric company put it on their bill. So everybody knows, yeah, they're paying 4%. Now, depending on how much you want to know about that, I mean, the short story is the county is not able to collect a franchise fee. They are able to establish a franchise. So it is irrational to me that the people are allowing things like right of way and so on and so forth for a utility that they want without knowing it. It's irrational to me. That they own the right of way, they own everything, they own the county, the people own the county. So why would they want to pay a franchise fee in the future? Well, they won't want to.
Right.
They won't want to pay a franchise fee, and the only way that they're going to do it is by sleight of hand, abracadabra stuff, and it's going to go on some consent agenda like this, and nobody's going to even hear about it if we approve it the way it's written, in my opinion.
So the legislature right now has not granted the ability to charge a franchise fee. So what I think Mr. Crosby's concerned about is if that day does come and the legislature says the counties can now do franchise fees, that a future board of supervisors, after we approve this resolution, can basically just say, okay, let's just add the franchise fee, stick it in the consent agenda and vote on it. That's what his concern is.
And the customers will never know it because a franchise fee is paid by the company and it's a pass-through tax to the consumers.
Correct. So what he's saying is the board would ask the company to pay the county a franchise fee for granting them the franchise. And then they will pass that cost on to the consumer buried in the utility costs of the bill.
Yeah, they're not required to post it. SSBEC does.
So would there be language and legislation that would prevent that from happening, do you think? Or is this just...
Comments. That is one of those things that we don't know. And that's why we have that broad language to kind of protect against, eventualities that we can't predict.
So we're voting for something that could allow for a tax to happen that gets passed through to the consumer without even the consumer knowing it?
It's not a tax. And we don't know that it, all right.
Is that the right term?
Well, this could be a fee, and the language is even broader than that. So I had experience when I was at the state AGs, and I represented the civil tort, unit over there, where people would have leases with state land and then leave like a dump behind. So that's an externality. Somebody's got to pay for it. The companies sometimes bail out, and I had to sue them here and sue them in California to get the place cleaned up. A big like hazardous waste kind of site. So I have some experience with this. When you're dealing with contracts that go a really long time, 2 decades and a half down the road, you want to protect against what you can, and this language protects against that kind of like unknowns.
Why is it going for 25 years? Is that standard?
That is standard. I think that is from the statute. These are lines that are laid in the ground, and they're going to have a long lifetime, so it makes sense.
So the company wants to make sure they have a guarantee. They're granted the franchise by us to provide water,
Right.
and they want, before they spend a lot of money on infrastructure, they don't want us to rescind that after they spent millions putting all those pipes in the ground. They want to at least get 25 years to get their return on investment. So that's why usually those are that duration of time. It allows them to put a capital investment in and be able to recover the cost of that investment without somebody pulling the rug out from under them. So this resolution basically gives them the franchise to provide water for 25 years, and whatever they need to do, like Mr. Crosby was saying, in any easement or right of way to put pipes or whatever in. The concern Mr. Crosby has is that in the future, because there's a provision in this franchise to allow the county to charge a franchise fee, if the legislature so approves it in the future, that it's the potential for a future board to quietly add the franchise fees, increasing the cost of the water bill of all these individuals without them knowing.
But hopefully you might have a board that would be totally against that.
It's back to what Mr.
Correct?
Correa is saying. It's the unknown unknown.
So you'd have to have some faith that they're elected, and people who elected them would know that there are people who
Well,
would not want to increase.
First, you have to have the
I have
legislature get a bill passed.
Not in that.
First, the legislature has to pass a bill, and the governor has to sign it to institute the franchise fee.
Right.
Then the future board would have to vote whether or not to charge a franchise fee. So there's a lot of things that would have to
So
happen.
if we didn't vote for this, what is the outcome?
And
what does
nobody
that
gets water.
Nobody gets water, so that's not.
Oh, they take the language I don't like out of the contract, out of what we're voting on. If that's what the board decides to do, I'll vote against it the way it is. If I could go on, we didn't talk about our right-of-way fee, which is an additional cost that comes with these franchises. If the implementer, for instance, the city of Sierra Vista, wants to have a right-of-way fee, so there's a right-of-way fee on gas, natural gas in Sierra Vista, but there isn't a right-of-way fee on electricity because of me. Fortunately. Okay, so a long time ago, when they were going to implement the new franchise for SSVEC in Sierra Vista, I contacted an attorney who worked for the Attorney General's office through our legislators, and I said, are they charging transaction privilege tax, that's sales tax, twice? Once calling it a franchise fee and the other time calling it transaction privilege tax. And after a couple weeks, he got back to me and he said, it's unclear. So that's how they make it on purpose. They make it unclear because they're really good at doing stuff like that. And so they're taking something that's unclear. I think it was from, it might have been from Gilbert or something like that. That's what sticks in my mind. Whatever Gilbert passed that was unclear, they adopted it for Sierra Vista. Let's use this. This is unclear, and they passed it to Sierra Vista. Okay, so that's why, as Mr. Correa points out, he has a lot of experience with it. I feel like I have some experience with it also, and it's a lot different than Mr. Correa's.
So if would they take this language that you're talking about out to get the 25 years?
Yeah, they can do that. And like I was saying, the water company, they don't care because they know it's a pass-through tax. A pass-through fee, excuse me. It's a pass-through fee. They're not going to pay it. All they want to do is get their franchise, just like SSB.
They just want the rights to the right away so they can do all that.
They just want the contract for 25 years, and they don't want any problems. They don't want anybody like me coming up and making an issue of it. But here I am, so I'm trying to protect the fee payers, I should say.
Fee payers.
I mean, there's always fees and everything that you don't know about that are totally surprising when you find out you're being charged for things you never knew you were going to be charged for. So I know, I agree with that.
Let me ask this question to Mr. Correa. So usually, back to the legislative experience, we would do a committee of the whole and propose an amendment from the floor to amend the franchise agreement to either amend the language or to remove the language. Are we able to do that now, or we would have to postpone this? Could we table this and then have a meeting? What is the process?
Yeah, we would take it off the table.
We could take it off the table and then have a discussion further. Is there a date? Unfortunately, I got to ask that question. Is there a deadline that we are working against here?
We can take it off the table now, and they can just have this heard again at the next board meeting if you want to work.
And then we could work with Mr. Crosby on revising the contract to remove or modify the language to suit his concern.
Yeah, and I could explain more about how the language is drafted and what we're trying to
Maybe
protect
put a
against.
provision in there that it would require
No fee.
Yeah,
No
just no,
provision for a fee without a vote of the people that are going to have to pay it.
yeah, it's whatever that is. Ms. Gunn.
Mr. Chair, I just want you to be aware that as a public hearing on a franchise, it does have to have a notice to the posted public 3 times. So it wouldn't be the next meeting. It would need to be several meetings down the road.
Do we have to do that for a work session to have the discussion on it?
I don't,
Yeah, if we're going to take it off the table and then move it down the road, then that's correct.
just when it's for the public hearing, we need the notice. I don't know about a work session if we would need it.
Oh, no, yeah, we can do the work session.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So that'll give us time because we've got to do the work session anyways. So Mr. Crosby, since it's your issue, would you make a motion to table agenda item number 5?
Mr. Chairman, I move we table item number 5, which is Resolution 2503, granting a water service franchise to Cactus State Utility Operating Company, LLC.
I second.
All right. Well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is tabled. We'll take it up at a future meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Next item in the public hearing is item number 6. Approve a Series 9 liquor license for a liquor store. Ms. Lowenheim, did you have a briefing that you'd like to brief the board on it?
Chairman Antonori, members of the board, I'm presenting for your consideration the approval of a Series 9 liquor store liquor license application submitted for Mustang Mall located in Pierce. In Arizona, the Board of Supervisors reviews and makes recommendations on liquor license applications for businesses located in unincorporated areas of the county. While final approval authority rests with the Arizona Department of Liquor License Control, the county's role is to ensure the local requirements are met and there are no objections from relevant agencies or the public. All relevant departments have recommended approval. The Treasurer's Office has confirmed that the property taxes are paid in full and no formal protests have been submitted regarding this license, and the required processing fee has been paid. If approved, the board's decision will be forwarded to the Arizona Department of Liquor Licenses and Control for final determination.
All right. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve item number 6?
I move to approve Series 09 liquor store new liquor license application submitted by Andrea Lekowitz for Mustang Mall, 13116 South Highway, 191, Pierce, Arizona, 85625.
Second. All right. Any discussion, members of the board? Any other from staff?
None this time.
None? All right. Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve the liquor
Yes,
license.
I open public hearing.
It's open, just need to close it.
That hearing from Ms. Lowenheim was the public hearing?
Well, we're still in the public hearing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still in the public hearing. So I have a motion on the floor to approve a liquor license. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes 3-0. All right. Now I got to close the public hearing. So we will close the public hearing and we will now go to the Board of Supervisors agenda item Item number 7, can I get a motion on item number 7, please?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the over-the-counter sale of tax deed properties as set forth in the attached Exhibit A plus related administrative fees.
Second?
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second. All right, Ms. Lowenheim, do you have a briefing on that?
Chairman Antonori and members of the board, this item is asking for your approval of a bid for a parcel that was unsold after last year's tax deed land sale. This parcel, one of 4 parcels that remained, a bid of $3,500 along with the $25 administration fee was received for the parcel listed in Exhibit A. Board staff is recommending approval.
Any discussion? I'm all for selling property. So let's sell this property. So the motion's on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right. Next item on the agenda is item number 8 with the Sheriff's Department. Can I get a motion for agenda item number 8?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve reoccurring grant award under Operation Stone Garden subrecipient agreement number 240419-01 from the Arizona Department of Homeland Security, AZDOH, for overtime and mileage associated with the coordinated and targeted public safety operations to detect, deter, or arrest subjects who traffic humans and or drugs illegally into the country in the amount of $391,813 effective February 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026.
I second.
All right. We'll ask Commander Watkins to add just a quick summary of.
No, he's
not here. So Lieutenant, if you could add the purpose of the grant real quickly for the public.
I'll be really brief. It's a federal grant funding that allows local law enforcement agencies to combat human and drug smuggling. It's a reoccurring grant that they offer every year. It increases the benefits. It increases proactive enforcement and patrol without negatively affecting our schedule. The grant does pay the employee-related expenses, public safety, retirement, workman's comp, and Social Security taxes. We do deploy deputies 7 days a week. We deploy them in all 3 regions, which is Wilcox, your region, sir, Douglas, down your region, ma'am, and also in Sierra Vista, the Naco area. We allow the deputies to work up to 8 hours a week of overtime under this grant. And again, it allows us to have extra patrols and deputies out on the roadways assisting Border Patrol, but also they're still under the command of the sheriff. So if we have a critical incident, we can move them to those critical incidences. So it's just a force multiplier for us.
All right. Any discussion?
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Foster presented a thorough presentation to us as at the last work session, as you're aware.
Ms. Gomez?
No.
All right. Motion's on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did you say aye?
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear.
Aye.
All right. The motion passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda is Development Services. Agenda item number 9. Ms. Gomez, can you give me a motion?
Yes, I am motion to conduct a review and affirm, modify, or reverse the decision of the hearing officer regarding zoning violation case number 24-002851, Houston, pursuant to the appeal of Mr. Jason Houston Houseman, District 3.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. Mr. Coxworth, can you brief us on this?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is an appeal of the hearing officer's decision concerning violation 24-002851. The appellant is Mr. Jason Houston. He lives at 300 North 6th Street in Sierra Vista. This is on the property is on the corner of 6th Street and Theater Drive in Fry Townsite. The parcel number is 1067127A, which is a correction from the slide. The slide says 72, but it is 71. And as you mentioned, this is in District 3. To provide some background, Section 2.48.040 of the Cochise County zoning regulations requires a building permit for a fence if the property is located on a corner lot and greater than 3 feet in height. This is a free permit to allow a courtesy review by staff prior to construction to ensure the fence or wall does not encroach into the site triangle of the intersection. Section 2.51.0706 of the Cochise County zoning regulations requires site triangles, which is the area adjacent to intersections, must be clear of a visual obstruction to assure safe turning movement and a clear line of sight for drivers. The county received 3 anonymous complaints about the obstruction. On August 19th, a code violation was opened and Mr. Houston was mailed a letter dated August 22nd, 2024. On August 30, 2024, Mr. Houston applied for a permit for the fence and was made aware that the permit could not be issued until a portion of the opaque black fabric mesh that was obstructing the site triangle was removed. On January 7, 2025, Mr. Houston was scheduled before the hearing officer, and the hearing officer ruled, based on the evidence provided and with Mr. Houston in attendance, the fence is in violation of the zoning regulations and ordered Mr. Houston to remove the obstruction. We are here today because Mr. Houston has appealed the decision of the hearing officer. Staff recommends upholding the decision of the hearing officer, which includes a $750 fee with an acquiring penalty of $50 for each day following in which the violation persists. County Engineer Jackie Watkins is here to help explain some of the photos there in the
Yeah, so I'm assuming the MUCTD gives you the foot distances and the angles of which that have to comply, and that's what we're.
Correct. The MUTCD and the AASHTO guidelines for the design of streets. So as this photo shows, the car is out at the location so that it can see around that fence. You can see the black fence there.
And it's in the intersection.
It's an intersection. The car, that's a county car. So when you do these site studies, your eye height has to be at 3.5 feet. So you're in a car because pickup trucks can see higher. And so at this location, that car is now into the travel lane for westbound traffic. And when we were out there, so what brought this to even to our attention is that we had a sight distance at the next street to the west on 5th Street. And when we were out at that sight distance, negotiating with that property owner to lower their fence and their vegetation, which they have done, a lady stopped in a white SUV saying that she was having problems and she almost hit a few people, you know, that were parked at that location. And then just to the east of where that car is, to the next street over, there is also a 6-foot brick wall that was being constructed a few years ago, which was causing a sight distance. So that property owner had to lower their fence also 3 feet.
May I ask a question? Is it that the fence is too close to the street, or
No.
did he put the fence where he could put it?
The
That was
fence
the-
has the, like a filter fabric,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't see through that.
I know,
It's
but-
not the fence.
So it's not the fence is legally, he can have it there.
The
If he,
fence you could have as long as you remove the black fabric.
So it's either got to be 3 feet
or you have to see.
or you have to see
Where you
through
can
it.
see through.
Right.
Now, what if he puts items there like wood or something like that?
As
So
long as
still
you're
be
not
like-
over 3.5 feet, it's okay.
And to be clear, in the permit process, we are asking Mr. Houston for more details to ensure that the fence has not been placed across his property line and into our right of way.
Into the easement.
Or the-
But you didn't have it surveyed, you don't know?
It's pretty close to where the property line is. There's only about 30 foot right away at that location.
Okay, so it's,
But you can see in this photo, the fence on the other side. See, the back fence there is,
about 4
5 or
feet
6
off
feet,
the edge of the
and that's 3
asphalt.
feet, correct?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I have a-
Mr. Crosby.
I know that they have put sidewalks in some places in Frytown. Are you aware of that? And did they have to annex into the city or?
No, if there's, usually where there's sidewalks in Fry, that is in the city. There was a few years ago, a new commercial development that went in, and they were
Really?
required as part of their development to put in sidewalk.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? If he was to take those, the 2 sections that are closest to the white car in the intersection, and take those out and maybe put them in a diagonal so that when you came up to the corner, you could see? Would that be something that would be?
As long as he's out of the sight distance triangle.
So
Because-
basically, what you're asking is this triangle here?
Yeah,
He moved the fence back to that corner.
yeah, did more like of a, instead of a square, more of an angle,
Right.
so that he could still have his privacy, but people then coming up to that corner would be able to see around it. Because, I mean, I personally think it's kind of nice to not be able to see into somebody's yard, because there's a lot of yards I wish I didn't have, there's stuff I didn't have to see as driving by, and I understand his need for privacy, but would that be something, as long as those people coming up to the intersection could see, which it seems like they would if those two sections were removed, they were, and kind of put it at a different angle? Would that,
We would have to go out and do an
Yeah.
analysis to
Yeah.
find out where the location is for the sight distance.
So did he get a permit to put the fence up?
He has applied for a permit, but it has not been issued yet because he's not meeting development code standards for the site triangle.
So did he need to have the permit before he put this fence up?
Correct. The code.
And he didn't have the permit?
He did not. We do
Okay.
require permits on corner lots so we can prevent this from somebody expending the money and then finding out.
He may
that they're
not have been
obstructing.
aware that he needed a permit to put a fence up.
Very possible.
All right.
Typically, no, but on
But,
corners we do.
and then you've granted him sufficient time to try to remedy this issue?
Yes, he was cited in August of last year. And he went to the hearing officer and I have had conversations with him, with Mr. Houston, who is here today to answer.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a minute to speak here in a second. I wanted to kind of get the groundwork laid before we bring him up and listen to his,
and what's the total that you want him to pay?
The fee is, and it hasn't been implemented yet because he is in process of this appeal, would be a $750 fee and $50 for each day in which this persists. So
Since when?
if you rule in favor of our recommendation, he does nothing, then that fee will start to accumulate and it'll be turned over to the county attorney's office if we have to get a court order to remove the mesh.
Accumulate as of today, that
Depending on
$50
how
every
you
day?
rule.
right.
Okay. So right now it's $750. Just say if it went his way, I'm just trying to see.
It
what
would
the
go
low-
away.
It would be $750?
No.
It'd be nothing.
It would be, the obstruction would remain and we wouldn't apply any fees.
Okay. But if we go against him, then it's $750, and then from tomorrow will be an additional 15 every day after that?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
There's also the option, as we see in number 8 here, to modify.
Yeah, let's go to,
In the past, to be fair, if it takes a week for Mr. Houston to come into compliance, we will apply just a minimal fee to account for our staff time having to deal with this violation.
And that would be less than the 750 you expect?
It would be.
I see.
what picture, you said picture,
I-
what are you
We
referring?
got this one, which that shows the angles that you're talking about.
Okay.
Page 4 of the handout.
Page 4.
So if you set the fence back, yeah, if you set the fence back outside the triangle, that would be a remedy. If he were to remove the black screening so you can see through the fence, that would be a remedy, which he could do rather quickly, I assume. And then the third remedy is to lower the fence to 3.5 feet.
On the
From
second
2
remedy,
feet.
And yeah,
you would just.
or lower the fabric to 3.5 feet, correct.
Oh, you could do that. So you could keep it and just do it on the 2 panels, not on the whole fence, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right, so next up, we will ask, I'm sorry, let me pull his name up here.
Houston?
Mr. Houston.
Houston.
Yeah, is Mr. Houston present? Sir, if you come up to the microphone and present your side of the issue?
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Jason Houston. I'm here to appeal the zoning violation. Did you read the appeal that I submitted?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. This is a petty neighbor revenge and unequal enforcement of zoning regulations. Sorry, excuse me. When I moved into my house and met my neighbor, he told me he tried to buy my lot and add it to his property holdings. He told me he wasn't happy that he lost his property to someone else, and this is revenge for that loss. Sorry, I think I have a cold come on. I have had problems dealing with the zoning division. First of all, sorry, I have a permit for the fence. I didn't build the fence. So the zoning department is incorrect. They also denied me my appeal when I requested it. And when I asked the director for the appeal, he said my violation was a concern, but that isn't true. I drove down my street and found most of the pictures that I put in my appeal. And if you look at pictures 4 and 5, they do show similar things where the sight distance is obstructed. And it is a common theme throughout the neighborhood. A good example about the enforcement, this is unequal enforcement. A good example, when I was a military police officer, I would drive down the street and see illegally parked cars. I would give them all a ticket, not just one. The zoning division is focused on me and its unequal justice. The zoning division is passing by all the houses with blinders on. They aren't enforcing the regulation across the whole neighborhood. So it's a broken system that is harassing people that have a complaint against them. It is also unfair for one person to be held to a standard while the whole neighborhood is not. Please approve my appeal. Thank you for your time. Sorry,
Hang on one second. So
no, I understand that.
yeah, so you got someone to put the fence up, and you're
Yes.
claiming that they before they put your fence up, they got a permit. The
Yes.
company to put the fence up.
Yes, there is a permit for that fence because that fence was built by Cochise College, and I bought it from them. I lived out of state.
So, Ms. Cox, do you have any evidence that the company got a permit to put his fence up?
The permits we have in our permit tracking system, we have a permit which is closed for the single family residence. I don't know if that included the fence prior to the mesh that was there. I do have Dora Mai, our code violation, our zoning administrator online. She has access to the system, and she may be able to answer that question for you. But regardless, if the fence was put there with a permit, Mr. Houston has then applied for another permit for that fence with the mesh on there. The remedy is very simple. It's just removing the mesh.
Yeah, I got you. And then, the guy's got a couple photos here of, overgrown intersections and.
There are quite a few. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
There are a lot of photos. It is a common trend. It is an enforcement that is really, like you were saying, if you have a bush, a tree, anything in your yard, any kind of lawn furniture, you will obstruct the sight distance. And everyone obstructs their sight distance except for a couple of people who don't.
So, Dan, you talked to me before about this with the code enforcement. Generally, you don't go looking for code enforcement. You generally respond to complaints. So obviously somebody complained to your code enforcement guys about his fence.
That's correct.
Have you gotten any other complaints about other fences in the neighborhood?
We did have a complaint about the block wall across the street, and they had started constructing it without a permit. We worked with them. They lowered it to the 3 feet.
Okay.
Ms. Watkins explained across the street there was another side triangle that they worked with the property owner to remedy that, to make sure that it's safe. Fry Boulevard or Fry Townsite has been an active code enforcement area, but we have backed off on that because of compliance and cleaning up the neighborhood. We don't go really looking for violations. We are more complaint driven because of lack of resources.
Right. So the no offense to your comment, I get where you're getting about selective enforcement, but that's the MO for the code enforcement guys is they tend to wait until they get a complaint. They let you run free until someone calls up and says, hey, there's a code violation. Then they go and look at it. So it's not selective enforcement. It's more a reactive enforcement when they get a complaint. And I get where you're coming from, though. So I mean, what you're saying is that you were the victim of someone complaining, and that complaint was actively investigated by the code enforcement guys. They did find, in their opinion, based on the county engineer, that there's a sightline violation there. So I'm trying to, as best I can, explain the
And I'm trying to understand why we have code violations if we don't enforce them, because then I think it gets set up for.
We only got two code enforcement guys for the whole county,
That's
right?
it. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and then the hearing officer. So it's just, we're a bare bones operation. I mean, to have code enforcement guys, and I would be honest, it would probably be not very happy for the public to have 50 code enforcement guys running all over Cochise County writing.
But that's the thing. When you get even in like a city like Douglas where they have all these code violations, and then people are like, well, why do you have them if you don't enforce them? I mean, sometimes they're good, but this is kind of a setup where you have somebody complain, and then one guy has to pay while everybody else gets a kind of like a free ride.
Yeah.
Unfair enforcement is unequal enforcement. And as a former military police officer, I have to stand on equal enforcement. I understand budget concerns and staffing, but if you're not going to do it to everyone, you have to stop harassing the few, because you end up harassing someone like me, and I'm struggling to buy a new house. I'm a disabled combat veteran, and I moved back here because I served here, and this is where I medically retired, and I love the place, but now I'm being harassed by the county. And $750 for mesh panels that are privacy, that's outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, these are mesh sunscreen and windscreen panels, and they actually are really nice, because when I was working in my front yard, the wind was really low, and it provides privacy. And on that street, I really appreciate privacy, because there's a lot of, sorry.
So in this site plan layout here that shows the site triangle, right? So I guess I can go to Ms. Gomez's comment. If you were to set that fence back to that sight line, what would be the hardship for you to do that? Is that a major undertaking to move that fence back to that?
That's,
All you have to do is take the mesh off above 3 feet.
Well, I get where he's come from. He wants to have a windscreen and the sight blockage to his property. All right. So if he takes down the mesh, then that defeats that purpose. He's got a fence, but he's got wind blowing through and people can see in his backyard.
And it doesn't look great, I agree, but if you just did you have the two panels or whatever, and if you could bring that down, would that be something you would be willing to do?
the problem I have is cost.
But just to take the mesh down.
For a short duration to become compliant. She's asking you if you'd be willing to reduce the
The problem I have is cost, ma'am. I spent $1,600 on this. It's custom fitted. I had to measure it and put it up myself. And it was actually a pain in the butt. I spent many hours in the sun putting them up. And the fact that I would be cutting them down, I would be losing a couple $100. And if I had to adjust a fence that was already approved by the zoning office, because that fence by itself without the sunscreen panels was approved by the zoning office. Cochise County College did the house and the fence. It's brand new. It's a construction thing they do where they have a construction class, so everything is permitted. If the zoning office doesn't have it, that's kind of an error on their part.
But it may have been a permit for the fence.
Yes.
Then you put the black screen on at a later date. So.
But I'm saying if I remove a section of the fence, it's going to cost me money to remove that section.
The problem is this, though, right? So there's this thing called the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
I understand, sir.
That has spent years and years providing safe engineering to make sure that we're not putting people in harm's way by the way we design and build our roads. And there's an issue here because the fence is obstructing the potential of somebody who can't see an oncoming vehicle to pull out into traffic or to pull out to see and then putting their vehicle in oncoming traffic. So it's a safety issue that puts now you at jeopardy liably and the county at jeopardy for liability if there were to be an accident at that intersection, because we are in violation of the MUCTD right now, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, right. So now we are open. If somebody gets in an accident at an intersection, everybody's going to get sued that's sitting here right now. That's the point I'm trying to make. And the remedy would be to move the fence back to that, wherever that point is. I don't know how you would determine, you would know where that is, Jackie, right? So wherever that point is, and then create that angle to the other post on your fence, so you shave that corner off and you'll lose a few feet on your backyard, but you could still keep your fence up, or you take the mesh down. I mean, that's basically what we're getting at right here. That's where we're,
Both of these things, sir, cost me money. And I don't appreciate the county costing me money because the fence was already approved when the house was built. I bought it brand new. And also removing these panels would cost me a few $100s. They're custom and I had to order them and put them up myself. You can't get these at the store. I had to order them custom and measure every fence panel to put these on. And it would cost me a few $100s because the whole kit for the whole yard was $1,600.
I get you.
And I'm going to incur money loss for something that is being done throughout the neighborhood. I did give you a packet of pictures if you would look.
I looked at them.
Yeah, I bet.
So
I just
I'd
had
like
to
to say
find-
though, a
things
couple
to say.
$100 versus maybe causing an accident and then being sued because it's already, there's precedent here that you were told that it was going to be impairing the site might be a lot less than being sued for something that to cause an accident. That's unfortunately, that's like the way the liability laws are. And so you have to think of that. And when you're thinking of the whole cost, so maybe that is in the long term, the cheapest and more effective way for you to, keep your home and keep your money and the cost down as much as you can. I hear you. I understand your concern, especially when you've got a lot of other locations, obviously, that someone's not complaining about them and they're not being looked at. So, I mean, I do agree with you. That's something that bothers me. But I think down the road, when you're looking liability, might something for a couple $100. It might be the best avenue to take. Plus the fact that we could all be sued for it too.
but you can see in this picture
Yeah.
that the neighbor on the other side of the intersection lowered the block wall down to 3 feet to be able to see over the wall. So they eliminated the obstruction on that side of the street. And I can guarantee you that wasn't cheap to change what was I guess a 5-foot wall down to a 3-foot. So, I mean, I feel your pain. Unfortunately, the permit, from what I'm understanding, was for the fence without the black screen on. The black screen was placed up later, and that created the code violation. Someone filed a complaint. Code enforcement investigated, and they issued the order. The remedy, again, the MUCTD is pretty clear, and I've had this discussion with the county attorney, and I've also spoken with the attorneys for the insurance company that insures the county. And these types of violations are what gets us sued. When we have people sue the county for issues related to the MUCTD, it's knowingly allowing the violation to occur and doing nothing about it puts us on the hook. So our unfortunate duty here is to decide whether or not the remedy is to, sadly but necessary, impose on you to fix this problem.
Can I add one thing? Because this is my standing argument. It's an impossible thing to live by. If you look at the pictures that I gave you, it's a theme throughout the neighborhood. And if you're standing on liability, I'm not overly concerned about someone complaining or trying to sue me for the liability of accident at the intersection, and it is a common theme throughout the neighborhood. So if you're standing on the fact that you're saying that once you know about it, you have to fix it. Well, now you know about the whole neighborhood. Are you going to fix it?
Well, our code enforcement guys are going to have to go and take a look at it. But in this particular case, because it's been raised to this level, I'm very familiar with the MUCTD and the requirements for that. Once you violate the MUCTD and you knowingly allow it to continue, you are opening yourself up to liability.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Crosby.
I don't feel like this discussion here, we're not going to reverse this decision. So it seems to me like since we have Mr. Houston and we have Mr. Coxworth present with us, we should think about modifying the decision into something that can be agreeable to Mr. Houston. Otherwise, we're just going to affirm it, and it'll not be as good for Mr. Houston as if we modify it.
So what I'm getting at is from what Mr. Coxworth said, if we were to agree with the hearing officer and deny his appeal, the clock would start ticking on him, but you're saying that the accommodation would be only the cost associated with labor time for the employees to work with him to resolve the problem is what you would charge him, not the $750 plus the $50 a day?
You talking about the county employees?
Yeah, the county employees. So you mentioned something that it wouldn't necessarily be the 750, it would be for the time,
Mhm.
what it would be the impact of time to go fix
Correct.
this
We
issue.
like
What's the best deal that we can offer Mr.
Right.
Houston?
We'd like to see, because, I mean, to date, Mr. Houston has refused to come into compliance for something that's very easy to remedy. If he refuses to come into compliance after today, he knows he has this reoccurring $50 plus the $750. So we are encouraging him to come into compliance. Once he comes into compliance, I'm happy to talk with Mr. Houston about reducing that fee. The sooner the better.
So the quick compliance would be just for the temporary, to roll the screen back
Mhm.
to that one section of fence to where now the sight line is clear, and then look at maybe setting the fence back to
We
the
don't have
triangle.
concerns about the location of the fence. He can move the fence if he wishes. If he wants to keep the screen, it's not his backyard, it's his front yard. I could show you a photo. Or he could just remove the fence this afternoon. He would be in compliance.
Just
and
remove
there
the
would be no
screen.
fee.
The screen you're talking about, right?
This
For the
afternoon.
screen, correct.
Right.
The obstruction. If you remove the
Lower the
obstruction,
screen. The very simplest thing would be lower the screen.
if it's done today, there will be, the fees will go away and because the violation goes away.
That sounds like a heck of a deal.
That's does to me too. So, all right, I've heard enough. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we want to amend the motion or I don't think we can here. I think we just got to,
No, we could say that we are modifying it. We're modifying the decision of the hearing officer.
I don't think there is a modification here though, because it's pretty, the only thing is what you've said, that if he comes into compliance right after this and he goes home and he lowers the screen down, then the issue is resolved.
Correct. And Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Crosby, are you suggesting to modify the fee?
It sounded like if this fix happens today, there's no fee.
Correct.
Okay.
And there's nothing to modify. Then we just have the motion on the floor and then we just vote on the motion to,
Just a quick question. So he only has to lower it like on that one section?
there's two sections actually.
Sections, yeah.
He's got to pull it back on this one side and then
To make it,
Okay, so two
with the
sections
triangle.
is all he has to do.
We would have to, I mean, if he lowers those, then we could go out and verify that that is enough. It might have to be 2 or 3 sections, but we would have to go out in the field. And we could do that this week.
And we would not, if he's in the process of compliance, we will not fine him.
Okay.
All right.
I have one further comment, and that is, Mr. Houston, thank you for your service and thank you for exercising your right to appeal.
All right, so I guess we have to just redo the motion to affirm. And then we'll vote on it. All right, so
Mr. Chairman, I move we affirm the decision of the hearing officer regarding zoning violation case number 24-002-851, Houston, pursuant to the appeal of Mr. Jason Houston, District 3.
Second,
all right, the motion is on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, discussion. I apologize. Correct, Miss. Discussion.
Forward then, because we've seen pictures of the neighborhood, or if this is in the neighborhood of these violations, then we probably would need to go and have you guys look at those, right?
We'll do that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I wanted to
Any
say.
others?
No, sir.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right, next item up is emergency services. Mr. Duchamp, can I get a motion first for agenda item number 10?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve an interfund transfer of $15,000 from the Emergency Management General Fund to the Emergency Management Grant Fund for the 10% grant match for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant for the Community Wildfire Protection Plan Project.
All right, second.
Second.
All right, Mr. Duchamp.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you. The Emergency Management Department obtained a grant from the Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program to have the Community Wildfire Protection Plan rewritten. The current plan is from 2014. The grant total was $150,000 with 90%, $135,000 coming from the grantor and 10%, $15,000 coming from the county. That grant was approved last fall. And here we are ready to start searching for a consultant to work on the program. So we're requesting to move the 10% the 10% grant match to the Emergency Management Grant Fund so that those funds will be in the same place.
Any discussion?
No, sir. Mr. Deshawn presented, as you're aware.
Right.
Session.
All right. So the motion is on the floor. Do you have a motion to approve? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Passes 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have the Housing Authority agenda item number 12. Ms. Gomez, can I get a motion?
Okay,
Oh, did I miss 11? Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped 11. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to move things along. I apologize. All right. Number 11. Can we get a motion on number 11?
I move to approve the office lease agreement between Cochise County and the Arizona Board of Regents on behalf of the University of Arizona Cooperative Extension to provide 140 square feet of office space in the Cochise County building located at 1012 North G Avenue, Douglas, Arizona.
Second. And second. Okay. Mr. Casey, anything to comment other on that?
Nothing that we haven't already discussed.
Have discussion.
Sure.
And I guess I'll meet with the head of the cooperative extension, and we've been trying to get together to find, I think if they want to use that space as storage, there's a lot of space in that building that's unused that could be used for storage. I'd really like to see the lobby of the county building more live with maybe people in those offices. We need to think, and this can be a work session down the road, how to better use that building. It's a beautiful building. It's the heart of Douglas. And right now it's just kind of like a ghost town because there's not a lot of activity. And the area that they're using for storage could be used for some kind of services or something else. So that's the only thing I wanted to say about the building. But anyway, I think we could use, and it's amazing that there's a lot of space in that building that's not even finished yet. So we need to really relook at how we can maybe bring that building back to life. It's incredibly beautiful and it's just a waste. So that's all I have to say.
All right. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Now to number 12. Mr. Crosby, can I get a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the renewal of the Family Self-Sufficiency Grant Agreement, FSS 25AAZ 5890-01-00, awarded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to the Housing Authority of Cochise County for the amount of $80,000 effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Second.
All right. We'll have Ms. Baca come forward here. She is.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am here today to request your approval of the renewal grant. This is a renewal grant based on an annual basis. We've been administering this, the Family Self-Sufficiency Grant, for approximately 20 years. Our first graduate was in 2011, and since that time we've had 45 graduates overall. And per your request, Supervisor Crosby, 4 of those were from our HUD-VASH program. Our HUD-VASH program has a lower participation because this program is designed for self-sufficiency, and the way that it works is for our participants who are participating in one of our voucher rental assistance programs who are earning either 0 to very little income, but they're in the position to change that and change their household income and increase their household income. So as a result, their portion of the rent goes up and our portion of the rent goes down, but say their portion goes up by $100 and ours goes down by $100, we take that $100 and put it in an escrow account that the family saves during the course of their contract. The reason HUD-VASH aren't considered for this program many times is because they're already receiving income that can't be improved on, such as Social Security or VA benefits. So that's why it's a little bit lower than civilians participating in the program. The $80,000 is specifically for the annual salary and the EREs associated with the program costs for the coordinator. $80,000 is an $8,000 increase from last year. This the county doesn't have to come in with matching funds. HUD is completely funding this program. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
No, sir.
No. Thank you.
No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion is on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 3-0. All right, move on to the next agenda, state and federal legislation. We're continuing to see impacts from the federal government on funding for a bunch of different programs. I know the county's keeping an eye on those. I just want to let everybody know. I sat in on the County Supervisors Association legislative update on Friday. There are several bills of concern that are going through, but there's already been promises of vetoes on those bills from the governor, so the likelihood of those passing are not likely to happen. The initiative to put the sales tax on the ballot is still alive and will likely be going to a vote, so that issue is probably going to the ballot. So
Could you tell us about the food tax?
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So there is a HCR to refer to the ballot, a prohibition of taxation on food. And that appears that it's going to make it. Yes.
Earlier today, you mentioned Proposition 123 as it
that's correct.
Applies to voting. Could you?
Right. So the update we got on that is that the agreement on the language to have a special election in November to approve the transfer of funds from the State Trust Land Department to fund teachers' salaries has not borne fruit. And the legislature and the governor are still trying to compromise on the outcome for that, but it is not going to be done in time to make the deadline for a November election. They may have to do a special session or somehow get a bill passed with the emergency clause, which I know is not going to happen, which requires a 2/3 vote of the legislature, which it's not a simple majority vote. So I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. What is likely going to happen is you're probably going to see a budget cut, or the governor negotiate it into the budget and get the funding through the budget process to pay for those education salary increases. But that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. It'll probably be late in the session, probably on May 30th or June 10th or something, where they're going to come up with that. But it'll be a negotiation between the governor and the legislature on that. But it will not be going to the ballot from what I understand now, which is unfortunate for us for other reasons.
Yeah.
So, but that's it. I don't have any other comments on state legislation. And the pension thing is going to be negotiated. They're doing a stakeholders meeting on that for the 22.5% 401k match. They're also talking about putting them back into corp, which I know is also an impact to the county. But they're in the midst of discussion on that, and I guess they're going to have a bill that's going to be amended to be put up for a vote on that, and we'll be kept up to date on that as that goes as well. But that's all I got.
Thank you.
All right, so then we go to any comments from Ms. Gilman to keep the board up to speed on anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just at the county, we are still working with our department directors on the budget preparations to have information for the board as we go into April, those work sessions for the budget. So we keep a close eye on the legislature as well to make sure that we're tracking on their projections for county expenses and changes to legislation that puts more of a burden on the county. So compiling all that information, it's an ongoing effort, but we're working on it.
just so you guys know, I failed to mention, I signed a letter supporting the continuation of PILT. PILT is payment in lieu of taxes. It's what the federal government gives us for all of the federal land that they own in the county that we aren't able to generate property tax revenue from. So that letter went to our entire Arizona federal congressional and Senate delegation, asking them to approve PILT funds to continue the PILT funds, because it is up for discussion in the budget to eliminate that, which would be a significant financial impact to the public school system in Cochise County. So we're asking that the PILT revenue continue. Or they could give us all that federal land
And use it.
and use it to generate tax revenue, but that's a whole nother.
How much is that? How many?
I don't know the exact dollar amount, but the schools, it's a big significant impact to the public school system because they're able to get that in lieu of the property taxes.
Do you know the percentage of federal land that's?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can send you some information
Okay.
after the meeting.
Yeah, it's a lot in Cochise County, a lot of federal land in Cochise County. So, and we can't generate any revenue off of that. So that's the challenge. So, but I sent a letter to our senators and our 9 congressmen asking them to reapprove the PILT funding. But it was mentioned as a potential budget saving measure to stop that payment. But if they do, I expect our legislature to immediately foreclose on all federal land in Arizona and take that land back so that we can then do something with it.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah, something. All right.
Yeah.
But that's all I had. I just wanted to mention it so you guys were aware in case somebody mentions it. But that's it. Any updates from your districts, Mr. Crosby?
I would just add that probably PILT in its best form does not make up for the tax.
It doesn't even come close. Yeah.
But more importantly, the benefit to the citizens of the use of the land.
Right.
Way more than what it makes the tax part very small.
Anything exciting in District 2?
Yes, actually, the mayor, Jose Grijalva, and I are going to be in Phoenix tomorrow, meeting with Gowan and Diaz and I think some other people on the port of entry. And my goal is to get an actual number, since there's now other numbers going on about this connector road. From what I know, we need at least 80 million, including inflation. And I've heard now there's 67, then there's 27. And so I want to get it all narrowed down so when we do that work session, everyone is working from the same amounts instead of all this, one. I mean, I have no idea how much this road is actually going to cost or where the money is or how much is in there today.
Ask them while you're up there if they could look at 80 and 191 as well.
Okay, well.
This ADOT to start looking at that.
Yes, because I think 191 is going to have to be part of a 5-year plan if we do this. So
just to bring it up so that ADOT starts thinking about it.
Yep, I sure will. And that's it.
All right. Let's see what we're at. We're at here. I think that kind of wraps it up. The next meeting will be a work session to be held this afternoon at 1 p.m. here in the hearing room for a presentation discussing on the Chin planning results thus far for the jail districts. And they will update us and brief us on the research they've done, the results of that research, and some tentative steps forward. So that'll be, again, this afternoon. Without any further comments? None? All right, we're adjourned.